Norm Cheever,
Here.
Mike Coombs,
Here.
Malcolm DeBay,
Here.
Mike DeBay,
Here.
me here, Scotty Graves,
Here.
Annie is not, Deb, no, that's right, she's not, she texted, she would not be. Eric,
Here.
Paul,
I'm here.
okay. And for guests, we have to go down and see who we've got. Up in the right-hand corner, I see Doug Cameron is with us. He's the Director of the Public Access, Office of Fishing and Boating Access. And Jerry Patria.
Coming, Doug.
Yes, big thanks. Jerry Patria, and then we'll have to get the rest of, oh, gotta click on that, the rest of the guests.
Scott Snyder Peruse, Vice President of the CRC.
Okay. We have in the middle, somebody just disappeared. We don't see the head anymore.
His name was Mike. His name was Michael.
Okay,
And a Mike Mitchum.
There he is.
there we go. He's back. And I see a Chris Sparks.
Northeast Bass Anglers,
Excuse me?
Northeast Bass Anglers.
Okay,
We host quite a few tournaments throughout the year.
yeah. Kelly Parker. Let's see, moving down, I see iPhone, but we don't have a name.
That might be me. I tried to put it in the group chat, but it's Kim Faria.
You also got Cody and Monica there too, Dick.
No, I'm just going down, reading down and across. James,
Oh, okay.
James,
James
you're
Jarrett.
muted right now. Lisa Butler,
Also muted right now.
yeah.
I'm sorry,
Flipping iPhone, which we don't know who that is.
James Jaron, residents on the lake, and Dan Hess here under James Jaron.
Okay,
Great.
Lisa Butler. And flipping iPhone, we need to know who that is.
Can you hear me?
Oh.
No,
Kim-
flipping
Kim,
iPhone, it says.
we see Kim with a name now, but there's a thing labeled flipping iPhone. We don't know who that is.
That one's gonna go to the waiting room.
Okay. And we have Spooler 85, assume.
I put a chat in there. I didn't see,
Excuse me.
And then Paul Murphy. So I think we got, and Toby Watson. Is there anybody else? Angelina Simone. All right.
There's also Monica Kaczynski and Cody Butler.
Okay.
Okay. And do we know who Spooler 85 is?
You have to unmute.
Okay, we don't. And so Paul Murphy, I see, is on.
Yeah.
And Malcolm.
That's
Yeah.
not the way it's on.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
here.
Okay.
Spooler 85 is Sabrina Pooler.
Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Thought so.
can't talk at the moment. Sabrina Pooler. Okay.
All right, we got it. I think we got, unless anybody else came in. Yeah, okay. We've got all people. First thing is the minutes. Has everybody read the minutes?
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Dick, this is Mike DeVay. I read the minutes and I make a motion, we accept them as written.
Okay,
I'll second that.
who was that?
Scott,
Got, okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Unanimous. I'll poll everybody. Norm,
Aye.
Mike Coombs,
Aye.
Malcolm,
Aye.
Mike DeBay,
Aye.
me, aye. Scotty
Aye.
and Paul
Aye.
and
Yep.
Eric. And Eric.
Aye.
Okay, confirmed. Okay, moving on. We have our guests and go into public comment. Somebody want to open on public comment? Do we have any public comment, or do you want to hold till we go down through?
I think most of the people that are in attendance for this meeting are here because of things that were said on the Congamon Neighbors Group about limiting bass fishermen's boating rights on the lake, including things such as like the time they can start their tournament, where they can fish, and things like that. So I think that they were majority of them were upset, which is why most of us are here. And it was really caused by James Jaron and Dan Hess. So if they want to talk about it, they totally can.
Are they still muted, or are they, because I can't see that.
They're currently on mute.
No,
Okay.
we're available.
Good.
You know, I basically posted some of the, I sent in to the lake management some recommendations. And obviously we had it on Facebook and there was some good conversation. So, you know, basically, you know, Dan and I are basically, you know, just concerned about the 83 tournaments. That seems an excessive amount, you know, but we're not against fishing. We love to fish, but my primary concern was basically the noise ordinance that are already in place. And I've asked a request for information, and you know, it's 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then the fishing tournaments actually have their own regulations that limit the noise between 9 a.m. and 10 p.m. and 9 a.m. It's in the regulations under the fishing tournament. And we're just, you know, asking for those quiet times to be enforced. One of the issues I have when they launch the boats, they holler out the number of the boat, and at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, this wakes up the whole family. And come to find out, you know, the town already has ordinance in. If you just comply with the fishing tournament regulation that these groups basically are supposed to adhere to based on their permit, everything will be good. So we're just looking for more enforcement and just for everybody to respect everybody. But there is absolutely nothing against the tournament, the fishing. We're just, you know, we're on a lake. We spend millions of dollars of taxpayers, and we just want to just be reasonable. That's pretty much all I have to say. Maybe Dan has a few other words if there's time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're basically, what we're saying is that all the other lakes in Western Mass combined don't even come to 50. So why would Southwick, Congamon, such a small body of water, have 83 tournaments? And it starts, you know, with the state approving it, and then the lake committee, you know, probably authorizing it and giving it a rubber stamp. You know, I fished on this lake my entire life, and you know, the fish population has dwindled over the years because of all the fish tournaments. And it's just very sad to see fish taken from North Pond and South Pond and then caught and brought over to the middle pond and then weighed after 7 hours in a live well. And we know the stats is 30% will probably not make it. 90% will not return to where they were caught. And it's just very sad. You know, I grew up in Southwick. I'm a Southwick boy. I love to fish. You know, when we fish as kids, we were fishing, you know, with kayaks and rowboats and canoes. The town has changed. You know, we had nothing growing up. And now you got 250 horsepower bass boats, and it's crazy. It just, I mean, the boats are huge. They're racing all over the lake. You know, they're catching 200 fish a day, 83 tournaments. I mean, you just can't justify the sheer numbers. That's all.
Thank you.
Maybe Doug, if we can unmute Doug Cameron for a minute, please. Doug issued a letter back from the state addressing many of those concerns. It's on page 17, Doug Moglen. If you can put up page 17. That's the letter from Doug Cameron.
Yeah, I can't speak directly why the there's so many tournaments.
We gotta go, hold on a second.
Okay,
Keep going. Keep going. It's 17.
A lot of 17s. How many? 17D? I mean, where is it?
Because I had to insert those after I had assembled everything for the meeting. There we go. That's it. Now, anybody, you can all read that. That's, Doug tried to address many of the concerns, and I'd let him speak to it.
yeah, to start off with, Congamon Lake is quite a large body of water. It's not a small body of water, and I can't speak to exactly why there are so many tournaments there. It's not that we're promoting fishing and bass tournaments on Congamon Lakes. I suspect that the reason that there are so many tournaments there is because the fishing is really good there, and therefore the tournaments like to go to that location because the fisheries are so healthy. And for that reason, I have had some conversations with our fisheries personnel. They're the experts on the fisheries in Massachusetts, not me. And they assured me the fisheries is quite healthy there. And they monitor the fisheries across the Commonwealth on a regular basis. So those are a couple of things. We have 65 lakes and ponds in Massachusetts that we currently have issued bass fishing tournaments on. One of the other larger locations is South Watauga Pond in Fall River. And again, the reason there are so many events there is the fishing is really good there. From a fishery standpoint, it appears that's healthy and vibrant at Congamon Lakes. As far as the number of tournaments, it's not impacting other users of the boating access facility is what we would be concerned with. The overall operation of the Lake Management Committee being there when the boaters arrive, I think they have a very good system in controlling that to assist with noise levels and making the fishermen aware of the conditions. And it's been my experience over the years working with the special use permits that if we do get a call from a neighbor or a butter complaining about noise or any number of things, and we don't get too many of those, we will regularly contact that club and make them aware that we had received that complaint, and just so that they can be cognizant of that on future events, because they recognize and have been very good about controlling activities so that they don't lose somewhat of a privilege to fish in these special use events.
Thank you, Doug, for that.
Thank you. And just want to stress too, if there's specific issues, our police chief has noted to please call the police department if you feel there's violations, and they can, when it occurs, and they can check on it and see what the issue is and take care of it. They're the enforcement. Lake Management has no enforcement authority whatsoever in terms of, we can remind people, we advise all the time. You've seen the handouts that they get, the tournament people get for what they are supposed to do and not do. A lot of things to protect the fish, to protect the area, to keep things orderly. And we have recently, just because of the comments about the noise that being that early, our ramp supervisor is typically there for, I'd say 90% of all tournaments when they start, and advises them now, especially about the noise prior to 7 a.m. But also, they know we're 10 miles an hour before 10 a.m. on Congamon, which is a little unique. That's a town bylaw. It's not a state law. It's a town bylaw. And they get advised of that. And most of the, I can't say all because I'm not a fisherman, but I would say all with quotes, treat violations of town bylaws or state as part of their tournament. Most of them will disqualify whoever is the offender. So they police themselves because they don't, as Doug says, they don't want to lose the right to fish. The permission, it's not even a right per se. They have to have a permit to have a tournament. So that's what then gives them the permission to have a tournament wherever, albeit Congamon or Watuppa or anywhere. So, you know, we're addressing the noise. The other thing we are doing is Andy's been contacting anybody that has a tournament already approved prior to 7 a.m. and requesting that they move it to 7 a.m. start. So they would go 7 to 3 instead of 6 to 2. A lot of them liked 6 to 2 because they get the benefit of an additional hour of the 10 miles an hour before 10 a.m. in before the general populace arrives and everything gets cranked up to high-speed travel. So, you know, it's not that we're ignoring it as the Lake Management Committee. We're trying to do what we can, but also keep in mind that, as Doug mentioned, this is a great pond. There aren't rights to have docks. There aren't rights to have floats. There aren't rights to, because it's owned by the Commonwealth. You know, it's owned by the people as one big, not a person. And nor do people that have waterfront properties have the right to, their property starts at or stops, whichever way you want to look at it, at the waterfront. It doesn't go into the water. So again, when they're fishing, they can fish in shallow water. It'd be tough to get the fish on shore, but I think you get the point. It is a great pond, and there's a lot of things that says about it. And for instance, any structure that's put in the water has to have either a Chapter 91 license, or we now have, as of 2010, we have the ability to permit docks, floats, buoys, and moorings, anything that normally would be covered by a Chapter 91 license for residents, not for commercial use, but for residential use under the local permitting program. So there are things that we've sponsored over the years to try and make things easier for the populace surrounding, and by the way, that includes Connecticut. It's not just because 40% of the land bordering the water is Connecticut. The other 60% is Mass. So we try and be fair to everybody, and both Connecticut and Mass licenses are valid on Congamon.
Hey, Dick.
Yes.
But I think the question here is, are 83 tournaments too many? And if these other lakes are having very few of them, and we have many overcrowding issues that we've been talking about endlessly for the last 2 years, I think the real question is, are 83 tournaments too many? And that's a legitimate question, don't you think?
It is, but I'm not sure. Maybe Doug could address, how does one?
Do you mind if so we don't run out of time?
How do you say
No,
one to
Go
yes
ahead.
and no to another?
So Dick, hang on, because I think it's public comment period also, and I think some other folks wanted to make.
Exactly.
Great.
I do for sure.
Let's
Yeah,
stop and give them a
I-
chance.
Okay, let's take one at a time. Kim, you're up on the top there.
Okay. So first what I'd like to say is I know a lot of this was handled on Facebook. And Dan, James, I know you guys got some crazy words thrown at you guys, and that's not the majority of us. That's not our goal at all, is to be rude or anything like that. Secondly, what I'd like to say is I did talk to Brett Sherry of the FBA. He's actually the special use permit coordinator. the number of tournaments on this lake doesn't really have anything to do with you can have this many or you can't have this many. The fact that there's less than 20 on some lakes and there's 83, whatever someone said are here, has nothing to do with can have permits, can't have permits. I have a statement from him saying each lake, as Congamon, any of them are allowed to have one permit in the morning and one permit in the afternoon, as long as they don't overlap each other. So the fact that there's 5 at Otis and there's 83 here, it doesn't have anything to do. There's no number of permits that is allowed or isn't. And I mean, you know, I don't really think it's fair to try to say, oh, well, hey, you know, Otis only has 5, so let's limit Congamon to 20. It has nothing to do with that. It's literally just how many permits are pulled on each lake.
I believe it's also unclear how many Otis has, because there are tournaments that don't go through that permit process, is my understanding.
Correct.
So Otis, I don't know how many Otis has, but it's more than 5. It's just 5 that go through this exact process.
Correct. Yes, that is correct. Yep. Yep. So I did talk to him, and I did talk to, I think he had already sent you, it was the pages that we were looking over. God, what was his name? Doug Cameron. Yeah. He also said, him and Brett both said that this lake is, you know, one of the most fished because it's centrally located. It has great fishing. It's always had great fishing, and it's extremely healthy. As far as I'm concerned, I did also talk to Stephen Maddox. He's the biologist for Massachusetts. And he said that he has heard nothing but great things about this lake. And if any of us wanted, he could send over a report on anything. So, yeah, I don't think I don't think it's really a permit issue. As far as like the bass boats, like motors go, I think it'd be unfair to say that the people who are bass boating are speeding around and the pleasure boaters aren't, or the jet skis aren't. That's why we took them off North Pond. So, I mean, it's just.
I think it's a fair question for people to ask, you know, is everyone following during the weekend prior to 10 a.m.? And I think the response to that from the police chief was, if you see a violation, please call. You know, whether you're in a tournament or you're not in a tournament, on Saturdays and Sundays, you're not permitted to go faster than 10 miles per hour before 10 a.m., whether you're in a tournament or not. And if someone sees that being violated, the police chief has provided a phone number and we should call. And we absolutely should. If that's being violated, we should absolutely call and have the police handle it.
And it's also headway speed at night. So in other words, which is not 10 miles an hour, it's headway, it's to maintain steerage. And we do get people who will be doing 40 miles an hour in pitch black conditions. And, you know, that's certainly not legal. And if you see it, you need to let the police know.
This is James Sharon. Is there any chance for you to put the regulations for the fish tournament, the rules for the fish tournament on the screen, please?
That's sheet. I'll tell you what the number is.
I could just jump in for while we're looking for that. Just one thing to contest the number of tournaments too. Just because there's a permit pulled doesn't mean the tournament happens either. So yes, there's maybe 83 permits pulled, but I do know for a fact that there was some permits pulled for a solo tournament that there wasn't enough interest in. So I know a few of them were pulled for that, but those never happened. So that also contributes to the 83 number, but they don't necessarily actually happen.
Page 35, Doug Moglen.
Okay.
I also think it's worth noting that not every tournament has 30 boats. Like most tournaments that I have participated in have under 15 boats, which is like, it's the same as like you and your buddies going out fishing. There could be 5 boats out there, especially if it's raining. Like if there's a tournament on a rainy day, chances are only like a quarter of the people show up. So it's not, I don't think you can define a tournament by just being a tournament. I think the effect on the lake is how many people are fishing it, and it's really not even affecting the lake.
And there are also only a very few that are 25 boats. And I echo that. What Kim was just saying is that most are probably in the 8 to 12, maybe 15 kind of max tournament participants. But the 25s are few and far between. And if we go back when we first started, there were tournaments that were 90 boat tournaments because they were huge clubs. They're not anymore. There are a lot of small clubs.
So I think, I think one of the fair questions that was being asked is the number of tournaments adversely affecting the fishery? And I think that the state Department of Fisheries actually keeps a regular eye on Congamon amongst other bodies of water in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And what we hear, and those reports are publicly available and we do look at them, is that the fishery is actually very healthy at Congamon. So I agree, I'm actually surprised. Well, there's that many tournaments and the fishery is very healthy. So that, I guess, speaks to the productivity of the fishery, and maybe it speaks to that, maybe although it's surprising, maybe a lot of the fish actually do survive the process. And I think if a lot were dying, then when the tournaments were done, there would be a lot of floating dead fish around the dock, and we haven't heard that reported. So it sounds like, while it may be counterintuitive, it sounds like the whatever tournaments we have are not causing noticeable damage to the fishery.
I would like to say too, a lot of the tournaments, at least most of the ones that I participate in, or that, any of my friends participate in, it's 1 to 2 fish per boat that you are allowed to weigh in. Now, whether, they're switching out in their live well, a lot of these fishermen, they have bubblers, they have water temperature. They're keeping an eye on these fish. Most of the tournaments, especially the Thursday night ones, are only, I don't know, 3.5 hours long. And they're keeping an eye on their fish. There are, you get disqualified if you kill a fish. It's not like we're going out and we're just like killing them for fun. That doesn't happen.
I think the concern was that that the stress that the fish get put under, might cause a large percentage of those to die. But I think if that were the case, then when the weigh-ins were complete, we would see dead fish.
Exactly. And there's been studies all over big lakes everywhere that have said that, some of them are going to, it does happen, but it's not 200 fish a day, especially not in Congamon. It's just not happening.
Hi, this is Dan Hess. I'm over on North Pond. And there is one bass left under my dock. He's severely scarred. He's been caught at least 5 or 6 times. So 30 fishermen a weekend try to get to him, and they cast their lures to my dock. So you might get the last bass by my dock. And there used to be 50 that were out there. It was all breeding grounds. It's all sand. They're gone. They're gone. And these are professional bass guys. These guys are good. I mean, they can catch fish anywhere. I mean, why don't you guys go up to Otis for a couple times? Go up to Garfield, go up to Buell, go up to Oneida. Beautiful bass lakes, just 83 is just too much. The pressure on these fish is just tremendous. I see the same 30 guys every weekend, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, fishing my dock over and over again. And they're going to catch the last bass, and my kids aren't going to have nothing to catch. I fish all the time myself. I caught a 6-pound bass up in Otis last night. Try some other lakes, try some other, reservoirs and ponds. That's all we're asking. It's just kind of reduce the numbers from 83 to an acceptable level.
You can't.
Nobody else. Otis bans tournaments in July and August, and their property values are double ours.
Do you have proof of that?
We do not issue special use permits at Otis Reservoir. That's part of a state park. And the reason we don't issue special use permits in July and August is because they don't have the staff to manage the fishing tournaments.
What staff? These are staff. We don't have staff here at Congamon. What are you talking about?
Yes, we do.
We don't have anybody out there. We got somebody launching boats. We don't have any staff. There's never been a biologist on Congamon ever.
I'm not talking about biologists. I'm talking
I'd
about
love to have
people
them
that
come to
manage the
Congamon
program.
and do a real study. You show me the latest study.
So the study of the fisheries is publicly available. Doug, do you know?
We have a limnologist that we pay.
Right, we have a limnologist who's on, who's on retainer, but the fisheries report is something that gets updated fairly regularly. Doug, do you know how someone can easily get their hands on the report, on the fisheries report?
That's handled by a separate agency within the Department of Fish and Game, known as the Division of Marine Fisheries, Division of Fisheries and Wildlife. They're also known as Mass Wildlife. Any contact information for them, you could readily get that information and ask for the fisheries section by either calling the Westboro office or emailing Mass Wildlife would be another way to get that information. And that would be the accurate information from the source that monitors and evaluates fisheries in Massachusetts.
So it's probably a good idea, anyone who's concerned about the health of the fishery, to take a look at that report. Because the state does maintain monitoring of Congamon among other bodies of water with regard to health of the fishery.
If I could jump in real quick. My club and myself have hosted many of the larger tournaments, some of the charity tournaments, which we've given back to Southwick over the last 25 years or more. Right now, our most recent charity cause is for the Ray Reardon Scholarship, which has given scholarships to Southwick High School students. And for years and years, we supported the DARE tournament, which went right back to the students through the DARE program. And we also supported the library tournament for many countless years. This year alone, when we had the Reardon tournament at the end of April, it was a rainy, cold day, and we ended up with somewhere around 15 boats, and I don't recall a single dead fish. But when you talk about us visiting other lakes, my club has 6 tournaments a year, and only one of them is on Congamon. We were at Onoda last weekend, and there were 61 fish caught throughout the day, and the weather was 95 degrees and hot as hell, if you all remember. We had 1 dead fish out of 61. So as bass fishermen, we're doing our best under conservation to keep our fish alive and to return them to the water healthy. And we'd be glad to work with Dick and with Doug if you want to revise tournament rules for Congamon. And we've considered things like creating a way to do quiet callouts to be respectful to the neighbors. And also, if you have a multi-fish tournament, that we release them back in the middle of the lake and not let them go at the ramp. So if the lake committee is really want to revise their rules, I ask that you get in touch with some of us local fishermen and local clubs, because we're the ones locally who come in and we care about the place just as much as you homeowners do. We want to protect the place. We want you guys to be protected, and we're looking to be more collaborative and combative at this point. But along those same lines, when I was tournament director, every tournament we had to send in a Creel report, which Doug can attest to, included every fish caught, how many largemouth, how many smallmouth, biggest fish, how many dead. And all those results across the state go back to the Department of Fish and Wildlife. And I'm hoping and assuming that they're doing some reports with all the tournament Creel reports that we submit after our tournament. But I have hosted many tournaments. I've participated in many. And I think it's our local clubs that are trying to work with you to support the lake and also be respectful to the neighbors. So I implore that if you want to change some of the rules. And as far as police presence, it hasn't been brought up yet, but it was in that email. Us bass fishermen, more than anybody, would love to see more police presence on the lake. Because we're the ones, as you said, we're disqualifying our own members if they're going too fast, if they're not wearing their life jackets, don't have their kill switch. And, you know, I'm not trying to throw stones, but many times at 10 before 10 is the local homeowner out there water skiing before the lake gets choppy. So if we could get that phone
Absolutely.
number for the police, we'd love to be able to call and say, you know, it's not us out there doing 10 before 10, it's your own neighbor. So if you want to call the police on your own neighbors, we'll be glad to do that too. But, you know, all in all, we want to be respectful. And we're looking to protect the fishery as much as anybody else. We'd be willing to work with you to help out.
This is,
Hey, Doug, I'd just like to mention a couple of things. As a homeowner, I don't mind taking out a few fishing lures out of my docks every year that they always seem to get caught in there, and I've lost a few inflatables over the year. But the fastest boats on Lake Congamon, for the most part, are the bass boats. And even though they may leave the docks in the morning under headway speed, and they're fishing around the edges of the lake, and in some cases very close, even where they're stepping, touching people's docks, that type of thing. But when they're going back, or they're going back and forth across the lake, I should say, these babies are going 60 and 70 plus miles an hour. So maybe with more police presence, they do a little something to corral a little of that issue.
I think we should touch on that too. Wait a second. The idea, what he just said about the lures in the boats and the docks, I am on a sandbar. I have my boat on a small sandbar. I probably take 10 lures off my dock and out of my leather seats a year, and I hang them in the pump house, and I actually give them to fishermen because I don't have an issue with it. But that is one thing. They seem to want to fish underneath my lift. They like to fish under my lift, and they're always bouncing them off my dock. That's a question that I hear. I know other people on this call have said this to me. They are taking lures out of their boats all the time. Anybody else want to chime in on that or not?
Yeah, Malcolm, this is Mike DeBay. I'll be more than happy to chime in on that. And I want to make it clear for Chris, 99% of the fishermen go out there and do a real good job all the time. If kids are swimming, they go around the area and start fishing again when they get to the next dock. There's always that one that comes right through the middle, plugging right next to kids swimming. So you're going to get both ends of the spectrum. I realize that. And I don't want to get hung up on it. What we do end up with, I've replaced my seats at least 3 times in my boat, because if they get it hooked in there, they had to just come over gently and take it out versus jerking it out and make it a lot easier. But I think some of the issues that are being raised here can be handled on a much easier level than let's call the police. If people are saying, don't scream and yell at 5 o'clock in the morning at the boat ramp, it's reasonable to say, don't scream and yell. There's got to be another way to do that. We should be able to work out that so that everybody can get off fishing without bothering all the neighbors. Now, I'm not advocating stopping tournaments or not allowing tournaments. I'm just saying, let's work together to improve what we're doing.
Yeah,
Anyways.
and I agree. And I also have pulled lures out of places I prefer them not to be. And I agree with you, Mike. You know, the vast majority of the fishermen that we see are very courteous, you know, very cautious. And unfortunately, it's always, you know, the couple of bad apples that everybody remembers. You know, they're, you know, if you see 200 fishermen, 199 of them are no problem at all. It's the one. And
I think a lot of the problem with the lures too is that most fishermen that I know, like if a lure gets stuck, they're actually afraid to go on someone's dock to retrieve their lure because they're afraid of getting yelled at. Like most fishermen want to get their lure back, but they can't because they're getting yelled at that they're on someone's property, and they want to be respectful of people's property, which requires them like literally ripping their lure off their line because they don't want to step on someone's dock.
I think you're 100% right. But unfortunately, we deal with the lure, the hook that got set into the seat.
Great.
This is James. Just one more comment. So first thing, since I've moved here and since this issue has come up, the tournaments really, I really believe that I just don't think there was awareness that there were residential houses. And I respect that a lot, you know. So even recently, the last 2 tournaments that were launched at 7 in the morning, and it was awesome. My wife and I woke up and we looked outside and went, "Oh my God, there was a tournament." So like you guys said, was an awareness, I think, most tournaments just want to do their thing and go fishing. And I'm not in the business of shutting down anything. So I wanted to bring that to everybody's attention and say thank you for already the advancements that we have seen since this conversation has started on Facebook. And I've said that also on Facebook. But I did just want to acknowledge on the permit side of things that we do have a noise ordinance that starts from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And if you look at the fishing, this is the fishing, the piece of paper that Dick put up. From what I understand, this is read at every tournament. Is that correct? Or is it handed out to every tournament? And the fishermen, please, if you guys are saying, no, I've never seen this, please put your hand up. But it very clearly says prior to 9 a.m., you got to keep your voice down. And even the last tournament that started at 7, they still hollered the numbers out on the boat. And I guess you used the term, Chris, when they call out the numbers, there just has to be a different way to do it. And I think on the noise level of things, we could definitely live in peace. But I really appreciate the effort that has been done so far. So I just want to leave my last comments out of my mouth on a positive and a good direction. I appreciate everybody's time, and especially the volunteers. Thank you.
To all the neighbors, I got to admit that, we've used a bullhorn at one time, and, that's just unfair to the neighbors. And I really think we could come up with a quiet call out with some placards, and it might even need the ramp attendants' assistance for them to hold up those placards, and then those placards could be in the boathouse for every single tournament.
We could do that. We won't hold up the placards for you, but we can store them so that when there is a tournament, you could have even a flip over type thing if you wanted.
Yep. Absolutely.
If somebody wants to make one.
And even, it's usually the last boat in the drawing that does the call out. So if they have to stand on the dock and they have to leave after the last boat and hand those placards back to the boat attendant, I think the local fishermen and clubs could work with the lake committee to create some more rules that are respectful of the neighbors. And I think we'd all be in agreement with that.
And I have never having done one of these tournaments, it's a dumb question. And this can't be done by, everybody has a cell phone, by calling somebody's cell phone?
It probably could be, but I don't see that being productive.
My thought is that then, you wouldn't disturb anybody.
But even if you have numbers, if you hold up numbers, like like a paddle or just a flip chart that has numbers, we could do something, we do work with you on that. If somebody comes up with what you think is doable that you can see, you provide it, we'll store it.
Dick, this is Mike DeBay. I hate to butt in, but I'm going to recommend we take this offline to resolve and to come up with a solution so that it works for everybody instead of wasting the time at a meeting, because we're 3/4 of the way through our hour and we haven't got off a public comment yet.
Okay, Chris, maybe you and a couple of the others can chat and maybe toss out a couple ideas. Give me a call.
You just muted yourself, Chris.
Chris is muted.
There you go.
There we
Sorry.
go. He's back.
Oh, absolutely, Dick. You know most of the people I know, and you've been a great asset to us, and we'd be glad to work with you. So I'll speak with some of the locals.
So let's cut it off at that.
Right, and it sounds like at least that's an issue that we can resolve.
Yes.
Dick, before we move on and we lose the people that came to visit, I know some of them are going to take off on us here. I want to make it clear to people. If they come with a question to our meetings, we'll be happy to try to come up with solutions and answers for you so you know the answer one way or the other. But we are not going to chase Facebook questionnaires around, and we're not going to be a Facebook police people. So don't get in a big huff on Facebook and expect us to answer it.
Thank you.
Okay, so was there before, although public comment's gone on for a long time, this discussion has all been about the fishing. Is there anybody else who had something else they wanted to bring up in public comment?
I think a lot of the bass boaters actually want to help put the buoys out, like the wake buoys and things like that, because it's the safety of the lake, and I think the bass fishermen respect it, and I think they want everyone else to. So if you could, I can message you guys or call you guys, and we can get a group together to put all of the buoys out, because I know the volunteers normally do that. but I know a lot of us want to have the like no wake zone and the like safety of the lake put out so it's not just sitting there. So we all want to contribute to that for you guys.
Yeah, I
Right.
can explain that part of the problem was that the one who normally does this had a severe injury on his hand. And just before he got some out and then that ended that. Fortunately, one of our police officers volunteered and has gone out and set all the ones you see set, the rest of them. However, the vandalism last year and the coupled with the ice moving things around this past winter, we lost the moorings for the green buoys. And those are very difficult to set. We can't just have people go out and, do that.
We need to-
And those will be set. He was gonna try and get out tonight after his shift and put in the moorings for them, which are basically, what do you call it? Catch basin, really old catch basin tops that are no longer functional, but they make great moorings. So those will be done. Our own lake boat has been in sick bay. It's got motor problems, and Kurt Saunders has been very nice to lend us one of his, but we also didn't want to put 200-pound catch basin covers on his boat because it's normally a rental. So, we did set ones where we can just tow them and snap them on, but these other ones that are missing right now will take a lot more work. And if you see, one of the big problems that we had to replace so many buoys this year is really what I would refer to as vandalism. People deliberately running over buoys and also hitting them in pitch dark, doing 40, 50 miles an hour in darkness, and then hit the buoys. So those are
Mention to them the cost of these buoys. Always have to pay.
what, Scotty?
Mention what it costs us to replace these buoys.
Yeah, we spend $2,000 a year, and this past year, we wound up spending just about $4,000 just to replace.
Definitely. If you guys ever need any help, I'll send you my information after the meeting.
Okay.
So if you need help putting them out or anything, I know some of the Bass people definitely want to help because it helps keep the lake safe.
Okay, all right.
Thank
you.
I'm sorry, but who was
Anybody
that
have anything
speaking so I
else?
can keep notes, please?
That was Monica.
Monica Kuczynski.
Thank you.
And if we can, is there anything else in public comment so we can move on? Okay, hearing none. We're gonna continue on with the normal meeting. Everybody's welcome to stay. We can't, it's a public meeting. So, let me just go back to my notes here.
We'll take a moment as we're moving over, just to thank all the members of the public who came and, and contributed and made comments. It's critical for us to really understand what are the concerns on both sides of things. So we really appreciate the public.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just for information,
thank you.
Eric is vice chair of Lake Management. So, and he also coordinates all the activities of all the thousands, literally, of water samples that are taken and analyzed and sent to a lab, and
does a lot of the sampling himself, like this morning. At 6 a.m.
Tracking all the data, making it into nice charts and tables and everything. So literally hundreds of hours per year. Each member puts in literally hundreds of hours per year. So thank everybody. Anyway.
We're all volunteers.
We're all volunteers. None of us are paid. So if we can get back to it, was the next thing would be the Concom update. Norm?
Yes. Only two small items to bring up, as most of the agenda did not impact the lake. One, they did mention the fact that the engine on the town boat is shot and needs to be replaced.
You're kind of breaking up, Norm.
Move closer.
There you go.
There you go.
We had the issue of the boat, the town boat motor is not working and needs to be replaced. That was talked about, but no decisions were made. I assume you'll talk about that later, Dick. And the other item was, we had mentioned at our last meeting that how do we identify the number of illegal docks that are on the water? And I did volunteer to work with Gene to try to come up with that list. So I'll be working on that list in the future.
Excellent.
That's the list.
I can speak to the motor. That was on our budget for 2 years ago. It was on our budget last year. We tried again this year. That has not been funded. It is an old, it's now, I think, 12 years old, something like that. And it's carburetors that Kurt spends more time putting new parts into a worn out motor. And it really needs to be replaced.
And what's the estimated cost?
Probably about 7,000. So that's what we've had in the budget in the past. I don't know if they've gone up. I have not asked him what the current price is. And that's even with state discount, which is considerable, government discount. Because the marine motor manufacturers give a phenomenal discount to governments. Anything else on Concom?
No.
Good. Okay. How about a quick CRC update? I don't know if Michelle is on or not.
Haven't heard her.
Haven't heard her and don't have her listed.
Okay.
I'll say it. I was at the CRC meeting. I was at the CRC meeting the other night. They had a great meeting. Michelle did a wonderful job. They have a lot of things in the works. And of course, the next big thing will be the 4th of July parade.
Correct.
You got a golf tournament going on. A lot of good ideas, a lot of good things.
And they have their own website, so you can always go to that.
Yep.
See what's going on.
Mr. Chairman, Scott Peruzzi is on, and I believe he's the vice chair of CRC.
Yes, I am the vice chair of the CRC. Correct.
and an overall good guy. So
Thank you. Scott pretty much summed it up for us. We had a successful lake cleanup on North Pond. Scott was actually one of the volunteers that came and helped us work on the project. We hauled a lot of trash out of here. Couldn't be any happier. And we got a golf tournament coming up in September, and we got the boat parade going on July 3rd. That'll be Saturday.
Hey, Scott Snyder, do us a favor. Dick Reynolds had asked me if I knew how much stuff was in the dumpster. So, feel free to send a few of those pictures of that video that was taken the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Send that to Dick Reynolds so that he could share it with the LMC. I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'll send over an email with that to Dick.
Thank you.
No
Okay.
problem.
Moving on is 583 Forest Road. There was a dock. The people there had an issue with a right of way. It's only 15 feet wide, and there was a person across the road, not waterfront, who put a dock on that 15 feet and then a boat, which obviously is now, blocking. There were boats on either side of it, and they were blocking 585, I think it was. I don't know which way the numbers run, but it was one more away from that same right of way. And those people complained about it. Conservation sent a letter to the one that put the dock in there, told them it cannot be there because they do not own that property. It's just a common right of way. We've had the similar issues in Mass and have taken care of them similarly. There is no right for a non-property owner. There's no right to have a dock in the first place, but there's no right at all to have a dock on something that you don't own the waterfront of. So they took care of that one. And those people are now, should be happy because that dock has to be removed.
I'm happy.
Good.
Has it been removed?
No,
No. Okay, well,
I think they just sent that letter out. It's in the.
it did take me 2 years to get it to go out, a letter.
Yeah, they sent.
take 2 years to get it out.
They sent a
2
certified.
years I've been working on this. Yeah.
So, we can, if you don't see it out, give conservation a call, but they sent the certified letter on June 7th. So figure, maybe they got it today. I don't know how slow the mail is.
So when should I expect it to be out?
Let's see if they.
2
gave
years.
a time.
2 more years?
Oh, no, no.
I don't think it's funny.
No, if you don't see any.
I don't think it's funny either.
If you don't see any action, contact Dennis Clark at Conservation, okay, and let them know that they have not removed it,
Uh-huh.
okay?
All right.
You can contact me too, and I'll find Dennis.
Okay.
right. So the next thing was 101 Point Grove Road. That's Louis Lakeside, AKA the Walk on Water. We're back to the same problem we had last year, and now there's 10 boats that are permanently moored on their docks. That's a violation of their special permit, specifically not allowed by the planning board's approved special permit. And so they were served a cease and desist on yesterday, day before. It was handed to them, and it's a $300. You had a copy of that in the last, it's also in this one.
Yeah.
Page, hold on a minute, page 11. That's the cease and desist. If we can go to that.
Yeah. $300 a day. Wow.
Yeah, 300 per boat per day.
$300 a day per boat.
So that
Right.
could be, that's 3,000. You said 10 boats, $3,000.
$1,000 a day. So
And I
they,
think, and I think part of the thing that was clear in that letter is, this is a repeat because this happened before.
right. So
Who's
that's.
going, wait, who's going to pursue this though? That's the real question. Just like this woman's dock, she's been fighting for 2 years that they're trying to get out. What's the next steps on this?
Kyle Scott, who's the building inspector and code enforcement officer, has that ball is in his court. I spoke with him today, and he will follow that personally.
Okay.
Okay, so if we can move on, just a quick comment on the navigation and buoy lights. Just an update is that you saw the information and the costs and of what it would be to put buoy lights on there and protecting them with either a cage or a stainless steel mount, because the plastic mounts, they were just using baseball bats or anything to smash them and knock a $300 light into the water. And we cannot afford that. There's actually no money for buoy lights this year. But at actual costs, by the time you put a cage around it, it's going to be somewhere between $350 and $400 per light. So not small chunk of change. And if people were doing what they're supposed to do at night and operating at headway speed, we wouldn't have things smashed.
Here again, a lot of that's an enforcement issue.
You're right, and the
We
police
need
are trying
help.
to get more. There was an email from the chief today, and he's trying to get more people out, but they have to volunteer on their off time to do that. They get paid, but it's not part of a standard patrol. It's not a patrol item. We've gone through, let me just go through everything here. One of the things that came up was hybrid meetings. There was an article in the paper, and there's discussion that with the select board is discussing how to have some possible hybrid meetings where you can have some people meeting together and also linked by Zoom. Right now, there are no in-person committee meetings until the select board approves such. So that's why we're holding a Zoom meeting. There's a couple other things on there. There's information on an article that was in the paper about Carvana. You can read that on your own. The rest of this was all supporting information for what we discussed under public comment. And does anybody have anything else?
Dick, this is Mike DeBay. I have a question. My question goes back to the subject of the meetings. The rest of the country is moving back to normal life as normal used to be. We're waiting. Does the select board have to approve to go back to having normal meetings?
Yes.
Or are we waiting on the governor? Doug's raising his hand over there.
I don't know if Doug Moglen can answer that. He might know.
Last I checked, my business card did say selectmen. So yeah, we did talk about this last Monday. There's actually legislation that was passed today from the Senate, and hopefully will be signed by the governor next Tuesday. It'll give some clarity around this. We've just gotten feedback from folks that still want to have remote, and under the current town bylaw and state open meeting bylaw, we really only have an on-off switch when the governor's order were to end on June 15th. Right now, under the governor's order, no in-person meetings are permitted. That order ends June 15th. So we would then have to pivot to be 100% in person with no remote capability. The legislation that's being passed would modify the open meeting law to allow a hybrid approach and allow board members, each board and committee could make up some of their own guidelines if they want, we believe, but it will allow a hybrid approach where you could have some members in attendance, some remote. There would not be a requirement for a quorum in person, for example. Those things all had to be worked out. So that's why we've been kind of walking carefully. I'd love to be in person meetings. Mr. DeBay, we are very close to, kind of normalcy such as it is. But that's where we're at. So,
Okay,
we need
should
another
hear something
couple
in
of
a few
weeks. Yeah, it's definitely a couple
Okay.
of weeks. The Board of Selectmen is planning. We were going to try to do it for this coming Monday to have a hybrid meeting with at least one or two selectmen present, but it just with the legislation pending, the clarity wasn't there. So we're hoping to see that for Tuesday to the governors to sign it. Once it passes the House, it passed the Senate today. So believe me, we're watching it minute by minute right now to try to get back to where we want to be. Unfortunately, just real brief, under the open meeting law, the town did not adopt the provisions of the open meeting law to allow remote participation. So we don't have the option of having any member of the public or a board join a meeting remotely and participate in the meeting under regular times, if you will. So hopefully this clarity will be available to us Tuesday. And I committed and Carl committed to communicate to all the department heads and board chairs weekly as to what we're doing and how we're going to get back to being able to have in-person meetings.
Great.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great.
Hey, Dick, I got a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Do you know if there's any reason why conservation's not getting out these dock permits and boat permits? I personally paid mine over 2 weeks ago and I'm still waiting.
Just give them a call. I'm not sure if they're just behind, but call Gene, 6907.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? No? Seeing none, hearing none. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion, Dick. This is Malcolm.
Malcolm, okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And
I'll second.
Paul Murphy.
yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Unanimous? Sayonara.
Good night, all.
Good
Good night.